and just went straight up and up and up and up. And we watched it till it was 3 twinkling stars and then 1 dot of light and then nothing.
Now,
and we were... Go ahead.
Again, I'm going to ask you questions because, for the listeners, when
please.
this thing started lifting up and going up and up, was it still quiet or making that hammering noise like a locomotive? Or did it kind of like have a different type of sound when it was taking off?
When it took off, it was back to dead silent. After they sucked up the last 2 little guys and the colors of the lights changed, that droning noise stopped, and it was dead silent again. And there were no crickets and no tree frogs either. It was like being in your sound booth with the door closed.
Wow. Now, you and your friend, I know you were hysterical. Did you want to go talk to law enforcement, the park rangers? What was going in your mind? Were you worried that maybe they did something to you at this point? Or what was going in your mind and your head when all this was happening?
Well, we knew, when Toby said they took us, man, and they hurt us, that triggered memories. Now, I don't have a clear, linear memory of everything that happened to us, but I have distinct memories of being inside that thing and what I saw, and I saw incredible things. Just unreal.
What can you describe what you saw? Take us right now aboard that UFO. Take me and James and the 1 or 2 listeners or 1 million we have, and take us aboard that UFO. Tell me what you saw, what it felt like, what it smelled like, if you can even remember that.
I remember standing, and we were frozen. We had our clothing in our hands, and we were nude, and I couldn't move anything except my eyes, and my eyes are darting all over the place. And I'm thinking, this is crazy. I must be in some kind of big, airplane hangar or something, because the interior of this thing. Now, I've already said that this thing was a city block long and 5 stories tall. On the inside, it looked like if we were in the same ship. I don't even know if we were in the same ship or not. But the inside of this thing was as big as a football stadium. And I don't know if that's some trick of physics or something, but that's what I saw. We were in I don't know, there were many levels, and there was a big open gallery in the center. And you could see walkways and corridors all around, and everything inside of this thing emitted light. And that's what hurt us, was we came out of this and we had arc welders burns to our eyes, and our skin was burned and red. And at the emergency room, they ran a Geiger counter over us, and we set off the Geiger counter. So I think we had radiation poisoning. We had the symptoms of it, and we were sick as dogs. We really were. I spent 3 nights in the hospital, and but inside this craft, everything was stainless steel looking or white, and like I said, it was like insanely well lit, and I heard a woman screaming. And, there's different kinds of screams. I mean, somebody grabs somebody and go boo, and they'll go, ah! And then there's a quality to a scream that's you can tell someone's in pain. And it's that sharp, screeching, ah! And I heard this poor woman screaming. And it was obvious she was in pain. And I couldn't move, anything but my eyes. And my eyes are darting around. And I'm seeing these things with golf carts moving around with no wheels, just kind of hovering. I saw the little gray guys. I have a theory about them. I don't think they're living sentient beings. Those little gray things, I think they're like little robots.
That's a possibility.
There was a taller alien. that had a pinkish, chalkish complexion. He wasn't gray. And it was clear that this guy was in authority. I mean, just looking at, I mean, you can tell if someone is in authority, and this guy carried himself with the air of authority. And just by happenstance, I turned my eyes to get a better look at him. I'm straining my eyes to the left as far as I can go. And as I'm doing that, by happenstance, he turns in my direction, and we locked eyes. This was the most frightening thing that happened to me on this ship. And that was the second we locked eyes, this guy was in my head. And I knew he was in my head. I was sharing my head with him. He knew me, he knew my wife, he knew my secrets, he knew everything about me. And I'm looking at these eyes, and his eyes were wraparound black, but not grossly large like you see in the motion pictures. These were like a little bigger than Ray-Bans. And they curved around the side of his head. And I'll tell you, he downloaded my mind. And all I got back from him was just raw intellect. And it was scary. I mean, this guy had no emotion, no empathy, no love, no kindness, no nothing. It was just business. Now, and I was afraid of him.
What did he look like? I mean, how tall was he? You already mentioned his complexion. Was he more human-looking compared to the smaller gray type creatures? What did he look like?
Yeah, he was more human-like. Just little nubs for ears, the large eyes, no hair, just two nostrils, small nostrils, and a slit for a mouth. And he wore a garment I took note of. It was gray with a V-neck and long sleeves, and he was definitely in charge. And from there, we went down a corridor, and we didn't walk. We were on like a moving sidewalk, like they have at the airport.
Oh wow!
And we walked past a bank of aquariums that were lining this entire wall all the way down one side. And I'm straining my eyes again because it's the only thing I can move. And I could see they were various sizes. And there were embryos in these things. And the larger ones were about the size of newborn puppies. And that's what I thought they were. I thought they were puppies because they had like the folds of skin, like newborn puppies have. And they're in pink fluid, and they have an umbilical cord, and I don't know what they were. But this is a frequent nightmare that I've had for 40 years. As I'm looking at these things, one of its eyes opened, and it scared me so bad. It's a good thing they had me frozen, or I just would have flipped out and been on the floor. And it was a big eye, and it was obvious these weren't puppies. I think they were, I don't know what they were, but there were a lot of them. And we came to a point where we were standing again, and I saw some other humans on board. They were nude too, and had their clothes in their hands, and they were standing. But they were segregated from us. We were in the middle and they were off to the side. And I could see all of them were crying, and all of them, their eyes were just darting all over the place. And, those guys didn't get off the bus with us. I mean, E.T. kicked Toby and me out, but those poor souls, whatever happened to them, I don't know.
Do you think they could be like the missing people that the FBI says that, there's 30 to 50,000 a year that they go vanishing with no trace? Do you think that's what's happening?
Absolutely. David Paulides is spot on. I read David Paulides' book, and the fourth volume of his book is called The Devil is in the Details. And it's got the dark history of Devil's Den, where we were. And there's an amazing correlation. He's a numbers guy. He's a spreadsheet guy, and I like that. He lays things out methodically without drawing conclusions. He'd make a very good lawyer. And he found that parks that had the name Devil in them, like Devil's Den, Devil's Glade, Devil's Lake, Devil's Tower, Devil's Den, all had higher rates of missing people proportionately than other parks. Now, granted, Yosemite and the other park are the two big ones, but we're talking about statistics-wise. For a small park, the number of people go missing from parks with the name Devil in it was extraordinarily high, higher than by chance or probability.
I agree with that, and that's the scary part. It's the amount of people that go missing. Now, do you know who Mary Joyce is, by any chance?
I don't.
She runs a UFO reporting center out of Cashiers, North Carolina. It's called Skyships Over Cashiers. Now, she was a reporter, editor for different newspapers and all that stuff when there were still newspapers, where you could read the news.
Yeah, right.
She runs this, but, she has interviewed a lot of people through the years, and she's wrote a few books. But she's been on my show 5 or 6 times, and she's going to be on here coming in December again. But she claims that somebody came to her, she checked them out good, she got to know them, that had high government clearance, like the highest top secret. The guy was a high official in the government. Claims that, there's a base in North Carolina that the military is supposedly getting technology from aliens. In return, they like humans. Now, she claims what this official said is that they're allowed to take so many humans, but they take humans more than they're supposed to be. And she said this guy swears up and down, like I said, she checked out the guy's clearances, she checked out the guy, he is who he said he was. But he claims that this one species or humanoid aliens that's working with the government are cannibals. And they like humans for, consumption. I know. I've heard that. Yeah, and prefer children, as terrible as that sounds. I believe that. I mean, in the back of my book, and I label it as conjecture, in the last, I said, there's only 3 reasons for this. It has to be one of these 3 reasons. It has to be, number 1, we're working shoulder to shoulder with ET towards a common agenda. Number 2, we're in a quid pro quo, I shouldn't use that. We're in an exchange, this for that. We give them limited availability to take livestock and people, and they give us technology, and it's a gentleman's agreement for contract or whatever. Or 3, number 2, maybe began with good intentions, but they're out of control, and they do what they want, and the United States government has no power to do anything except try to mitigate the terror. And that's the one I think that's correct. Yeah,
so
that is scary.
That's amazing.
Now, we got to go for our break, and we'll be back for the last half an hour, and I got so much more to ask you. So, hey, go get another cup of coffee or whatever you have to do. We'll be back in 2.5 minutes. You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark.
History, I pause to take a sigh about the land, Afghanistan, where empires go to die. Alexander the Great, he tried and failed. The Mongols, they did too. The British and the Russians, they got their ass kicked too. America's been there many years, and I ask myself why we don't learn from history, where empires go to die.